Max Headroom broadcast signal intrusion. On November 22, 1987, Chicago TV viewers were watching WGN's 9 p.m. news when the signal suddenly flickered. Without warning, the screen filled with a man wearing a plastic Max Headroom mask, swaying in front of a sheet of corrugated metal, mimicking the digital background of the real Max Headroom character. His voice was distorted into a nightmarish warble as he muttered bizarre phrases about Coca-Cola and "your love is fading." After 30 seconds, the feed cut back to the news. 2 hours later, during an episode of Doctor Who on PBS, the masked figure returned, this time moaning, humming the Clutch Cargo theme, and being spanked with a fly swatter by an accomplice. The FCC and FBI traced the hijack to a pirate transmitter, but the culprits were never caught. It remains the most famous and creepiest unsolved signal intrusion in U.S. history. Christine Chubbuck's final broadcast. On July 15, 1974, Sarasota news anchor Christine Chubbuck was halfway through her morning broadcast on WXLT-TV when she calmly introduced a segment on a local shooting. Then, with no change in tone, she said, "In keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts, you're going to see another first, an attempted suicide." She reached under the desk, pulled out a revolver, and shot herself behind the right ear. Viewers saw her slump forward before the station cut to black. Chubbuck had struggled with depression and loneliness and had previously asked her news director to air a segment on suicide. The footage has never been released publicly, but its shockwaves through the industry were permanent, forcing TV stations nationwide to rethink live broadcast safeguards. The Captain Midnight HBO hijack. On April 27, 1986, movie fans tuned into HBO for The Falcon and the Snowman, only to have their signal abruptly replaced by a bright magenta screen reading, "Good evening HBO from Captain Midnight. $12.95 a month? No way! HBO beware." The broadcast was hijacked for 4.5 minutes. The culprit, 25-year-old John McDougal, was a satellite technician working the night shift at a Florida dish uplink. Frustrated with rising subscription fees, he pointed the massive 30-foot dish at HBO's transmission satellite and overpowered their signal. He turned himself in weeks later, was fined $5,000, and sentenced to probation. The incident became the first widely publicized example of satellite television hacking, and a wake-up call for the cable industry. Travis Walton UFO interview. On November 5, 1975, logger Travis Walton and 6 co-workers were driving home from a forestry job in Snowflake, Arizona, when they spotted a glowing disc hovering above the trees. Walton approached and was blasted by a beam of light, his body thrown into the air. Terrified, the others fled. He was missing for 5 days before reappearing at a gas station, dazed and incoherent. Days later, Walton sat trembling under studio lights in a live TV interview. He described waking on a metallic table, surrounded by short, pale-skinned beings with enormous eyes. He claimed they pressed a mask over his face before he blacked out. All 6 witnesses passed polygraph tests, and the story became one of the most famous and unsettling UFO cases ever broadcast. I Feel Fantastic, on local access. In the late 1990s, a robotics enthusiast named John Bergeron showcased his singing android, Tara, on a public access program. The clip featured Tara, lifeless eyes fixed on the camera, singing "I Feel Fantastic, Hey Hey Hey," in a halting, auto-tuned voice. Between verses, the android's torso jerked stiffly, surrounded by ordinary suburban furniture. Though harmless in origin, viewers were unsettled by the uncanny human-like features and awkward movements. Years later, when the clip surfaced online, rumors exploded. Some claimed the backgrounds were crime scenes, others insisted Bergeron was a killer sending coded messages. No evidence ever surfaced, but the combination of dead-eyed singing and eerie suburban stillness still makes the footage infamous in creepy TV lore. The 9/11 First Impact. On the morning of September 11, 2001, Good Morning America had a live camera pointed at Lower Manhattan for a weather segment. At 8:46 a.m., viewers watched a commercial airliner streak across the frame and slam into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The explosion sent black smoke and flaming debris into the sky. Anchors initially speculated about an accident, until, at 9:03 a.m., a second plane struck the South Tower live on air, erasing any doubt. Millions around the world witnessed, in real time, the start of the deadliest terrorist attack in U.S. history. The unfiltered horror left anchors stammering, their professional composure shattered. The BBC Ghostwatch Panic. On Halloween night, 1992, BBC One aired Ghostwatch, billed as a live investigation of paranormal activity in a London home. Anchored by respected presenters Michael Parkinson and Sarah Green, it featured strange thumps, flickering lights, and glimpses of a spectral figure nicknamed Pipes. As the broadcast progressed, activity escalated. Viewers saw shadows moving, objects flying, and the presenters screaming as the haunting seemed to consume the studio. In reality, the show was a pre-recorded drama, but the BBC never disclosed this beforehand. Over 30,000 complaint calls flooded the network, and some viewers reported lasting psychological distress. The BBC banned its rebroadcast for 10 years, cementing Ghostwatch as one of TV's most effective and ethically questionable scares. The NBA Phantom Dunker. During a Chicago Bulls game in 1989, live cameras caught a bizarre interruption. As the team prepared for a timeout, a blurred figure in street clothes dashed onto the court, grabbed a ball, and performed a perfect slam dunk. The crowd's reaction was oddly muted, as if they hadn't noticed. Commentators laughed uneasily, and security footage later showed nothing. No intruder, no dunk. Some claimed it was a glitch or an editing error. Others swore they'd seen it live. The clip was never replayed by the network, and to this day, sports conspiracy forums debate whether it was a prank, a hallucination, or something far stranger. The Northern Michigan TV Ransom. In February 1987, viewers in northern Michigan saw their cable programming hijacked by a black screen with white text, "We have your signal. Pay $10,000 or lose it forever." The cryptic message was signed The Sabbath. It appeared multiple times over 2 days, sometimes accompanied by faint, distorted whispers picked up by home VCRs. Engineers confirmed the intrusion originated from within the local transmission area, but despite suspecting a local electronics expert, police could never prove it. The ransom was never paid, and the hijacker vanished as suddenly as they appeared, leaving a chilling reminder of how vulnerable live broadcasts could be. The BBC Death in the Studio. In 1958, BBC's Panorama was broadcasting a live interview with cricket star Wilf Slack. When mid-sentence he clutched his chest and collapsed. Viewers initially thought it was a staged moment, but commentator Brian Johnston froze in shock before urgently calling for medical help on air. Technicians hesitated to cut the feed, resulting in millions of viewers witnessing the frantic, unsuccessful attempts to revive him. The incident sparked debate over whether live TV should have emergency protocols to protect viewers from witnessing death in real time. The Jim Jones live interview. In 1977, amid mounting allegations of abuse, cult leader Jim Jones appeared on San Francisco's evening news to defend his People's Temple. Wearing dark sunglasses, Jones spoke calmly about charity work and racial equality. But when pressed on beatings, financial fraud, and mysterious disappearances, his composure cracked. He stammered, changed the subject, and flashed a menacing smile that unsettled even his supporters. Journalists later recalled the interview as eerily manipulative. Just over a year later, Jones would orchestrate the Jonestown Massacre in Guyana, where more than 900 people died. The broadcast now feels like a public warning that went tragically unheeded. The live execution in Saudi Arabia. In the early 1990s, Saudi state television aired the public beheading of a convicted murderer in Riyadh's Dira Square. Cameras showed the condemned man being led forward by guards, surrounded by a silent crowd. The executioner, dressed in traditional robes, raised a sword, and within seconds it was over. While routine in the kingdom, international viewers, who saw it via satellite feeds, were horrified. The footage was replayed during nightly news segments, framed as a deterrent against crime. It remains one of the most graphic examples of state-sanctioned violence ever broadcast live.